What do you make of all this news around Biden's mental acuity and the finger pointing on who knew?
Yeah, well, what's funny? We've been saying it since December of 2023. When I first took over the Teamsters union, our goal was to work bipartisan and work with the people that are going to represent working people, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or independents. And when we started down that road, it was ironic how fast the Democrats turned on us. Some of them, they were very vindictive, very critical. But we knew that, President Biden was failing. We could tell. I mean, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist or a medical professional to figure it out. And that we knew Kamala Harris wasn't the answer to what Americans needed, American working people. So it's funny now, everybody had amnesia and no pun intended, amnesia when the election was happening, but now they are saying that the Democratic Party had this code of silence and no one knew how bad it was. I mean, come on, that's a little far-fetched, don't you think?
I mean, how did I know? Well, it's like, how did half the country know? How did half of the press know and report on it? Just the left-wing press wouldn't, and those around Joe Biden downplayed it.
Right. And you know what? They did him a disservice. I mean, when I met with him, and I got to know him a little bit prior to the election cycle, and it was kind of, you could tell he was deteriorating. And I used to tell people all the time, it kind of looks like elderly abuse, like, people are forcing him into doing something he didn't want to do. It's like, you're taking your grandmother or grandfather's license away. It's hard, but it's necessary at times. And I think he got bad advice, and the Democrats are in this position, finger pointing instead of taking a look in the mirror and saying, we're responsible for what we don't agree with in this country. Let's stop blaming everybody and let's blame ourselves for not having a strategic plan and or a vision to what they thought this country needed. And look, I'm a Democrat. There's no running from that. I grew up in the great city of Boston, where I'm very proud, but, we've got to call balls and strikes. And, the candidates that they put forward after Joe Biden pulled out certainly is not the answer for this country.
So you mentioned you didn't think Kamala Harris was going to be the answer back in 2020, looking at this pair, if and when Joe Biden failed. Why is that?
Look, I mean, I don't trust her, to be honest with you. The way she talked to people, the way she demanded support. Look, the one thing that myself personally, and I think most Americans, they don't want to be told what to do. They want to be told what someone is going to do for them. I mean, we pay their salaries, we're their constituents. And I know growing up where I grew up, and I've been in trouble my entire life, when someone told me to do something, I always did the opposite just to see what the consequences were going to be. And they didn't want to listen anymore. And, they paid the consequence for it.
What was she like when you guys met with her? Because you met with her in advance of the November vote.
Yeah, so ironically, we met with every presidential candidate. And I'll say this, President Trump, as soon as we reached out, because we've never done this before, we had a roundtable with rank and file members and our general executive board. We interviewed every single candidate. President Trump's team responded immediately in December of 23, saying, we'd love to do it. Here's some dates. The Biden administration was very difficult to schedule, and they pushed back probably till like May. And then when he got out of the race, Kamala Harris came in, and very difficult to deal with. I mean, we gave each candidate 16 questions, all the exact same, previous to the meeting. Most of the candidates answered all of them. Joe Biden answered about 9 out of 16. And then when Kamala Harris came in to answer, her team was very clear that she was only going to answer a certain amount of questions. And halfway through, I got a note slipped under me saying that this will be the last question. And she only answered 4 of them. So it was a typical attitude where, I'm going to be the president of the United States. And she said on the way out, after she gave her closing statement to us, that I'm going to win with you or without you. So that's pretty arrogant. And, wow. We had a pretty diverse rank and file presence there, along with our general executive board. So, it didn't sit well with us, didn't sit well with our members. And look, we polled extensively, and 65% of our members were voting for President Trump.
Why do you think she was so arrogant? That's just stupid politics. I mean, that's the kind of thing you say to your husband after you leave a contentious meeting, not to the people whose support you're asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's the attitude of the party. I mean, for so long, the party has, and I can speak for the Teamsters Union in my own opinion, we've given the Republican Party millions upon millions, Democratic Party millions upon millions of dollars, and I think they just thought it was like 10th grade geometry. It was a given. They were just going to get it, tell us what we wanted to hear, and that they were going to win. And look. Our members are sophisticated. I think the American people are a lot more sophisticated, and they pay attention. And the arrogance, I think, was the downfall. They talk to people like we were school children, telling us what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And she's just not a good candidate. And the funny thing is, when she talked about her intention, she embraced technology. She embraced a lot of things that will destroy American jobs. And she was actually reflecting upon what the Republicans used to say 20 years ago. So it was like a script was flipped, and she just wasn't resonating with us. And her running mate, I mean, really? I mean, that guy, he called me out saying, this was hilarious. He calls me out saying, all the courageous union leaders that endorsed our ticket, they should be applauded. And the ones that didn't have the courage, basically, screw. And I'm laughing at him. I'm like, here's a guy that has a false narrative of his service for this country. And he looks like a creepy wrestling coach in high school that you wouldn't want your kids rolling around the ground with. So, I just thought that was funny coming from him.
He didn't resonate with you with his camo hat and his attempt to look like a hunter?
No, I mean, look, and again, I've never served in the military, regret I have, but I wouldn't look at him as a war hero. I'd look at him maybe as like a Cub Scout or a Boy Scout, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, he's now admitted that they put him out there to be the guy who's going to attract working class white guys. I think that's you. That's your guys. So why do you think it didn't work?
Yeah. Well, it didn't work because, he embraced the social justice warrior rhetoric that was going around from the far left. And I know my members better than anybody else, and I know working people. During this election, it wasn't about social issues at all. It was about the economy. It was about jobs. It was about taking home more in your paycheck. It was about less inflation. And that's not the narrative they spoke. And which further leads to a point where you've lost touch with the people that you should be representing, and you don't talk to the people you should be representing. So that narrative clearly blew him out of the water.
This July, speaking of resets, there's a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio. This bloc of emerging superpowers, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for U.S. dollars will decrease, bringing down the value of dollars in your savings. While this transition will not happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to the number 989898. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio Reset. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.